So what do I expect you to know about HTML? Well, first of all, we're not going to study HTML in nearly the depth that you might if you were going to become an HTML page designer or someone who specializes in HTML. As far as we're concerned, HTML is really a means, not an end. The end is how do you structure and deliver information. The means to that end is create an HTML page for delivering the information. HTML will be an output. So I don't expect you to know a tremendous amount about HTML. However, you do need to know about HTML because that's where all of our information is going to land. HTML and web pages in general are the places that we're going to consider people to consume information from. Now, they really could be consuming information from any medium, and XML is amenable to creating outputs in all sorts of media, but HTML is the one that we're going to focus on in this class. HTML is the one that we're going to use most often. So I need you to know the basics of HTML. Also, I want you to understand that HTML can use the same constraints as XML in order to produce structured information. So the tag structure of HTML and the ways that you make sure that all the information is well encoded are all the same from HTML to XML. So there's a few concepts in HTML that I want you to know. So one thing for us to get out of the way right off the bat is the difference between the HTML mindset and the XML mindset. If you've come to this class knowing a little bit of HTML, you probably know that in HTML, browsers are very permissive, let's say. They allow you to get away with lots of sloppiness. You can not close tags, you can forget attributes, you can leave off quote marks, or you can encode, or you can have quote marks, and the browser will try its best to make what it can out of that. No matter how you try to mess up your HTML and not have it in the right way, the browser will do its best to try and make something display anyway. And that's led to a sort of a lax attitude, and that's kind of the end user attitude towards information. As long as it looks okay, as long as it's not too messed up, then I'm fine with it, and it doesn't really matter if I've missed some of the details. Well, in this class, that's not the perspective that we're going to take, especially since the methods that we're using, XML, not HTML, aren't permissive at all. The lack of one quote mark could make your entire system come crumbling down, as it did for mine just this morning. The lack of a capitalization, using a lowercase letter instead of an uppercase letter, can similarly cause your entire system to come crashing down and not function at all. So the XML mindset is that every comma, every space, every quote mark, every close tag, every open tag, it all really matters. And we have to have it just perfectly straight. And the benefit of having it just perfectly straight is then that we know precisely how our information is structured. The problem with missing end tags or not having things properly encoded in HTML is it may display well, but you're not quite sure where one thing ends and the next begins. For us, that's incredibly important. Our mindset is going to be one of precision and understanding exactly where every piece of information lies. So the HTML mindset is somewhat like if you were to build a building and say, well, some of the windows are in, some of them open, some of them don't open, some of them start at 3 meters, some of them start at 3.5 meters, and that's okay because you can still live in the building, it's still warm enough at night, etc. Our methodology is a methodology where every single window has to be exactly in the right place, exactly positioned correctly, and by doing that we have a structure that's not just livable, but reusable and useful across media and across output. Let's see what else I have to say to you. Isn't HTML enough? In this class, you could do almost everything that we're doing and probably do a better job of it in the long run just using HTML. And the reason for that is because we don't have a whole lot of information. I'm trying to keep the complexity of the class down so that you don't get snowed under with a lot of information to process. In general, however, once you have a tremendous amount of information, it's necessary for you to use a tool like HTML or relational databases or something like that in order to make sure that all of that information is well tended and can be delivered the way it needs to be delivered. So HTML for this class probably would be enough for the products that you'll produce. You could get away with just creating, for example, the prototype or the K-base using HTML pages and using a tool like Dreamweaver. However, that's not the point. The point of the class is to teach you how to work with information in a formal, professional, sophisticated way so that when the time comes for working with a lot of information, you can structure it in a way that will allow you to programmatically manipulate it and deliver it. So, What do I need you to know about HTML? Well, the things that are in this module of the course are all the specifics, all the things about tables and images and paths, etc. But in general, what I want you to know about HTML is that A, it's a method for outputting information. It's not a method for structuring information. It's not like a database. It's not like an XML file. It's really more like a Microsoft Word file, you might say. That's A, is that it's an output medium rather than a structural medium. And B is that it has a permissive attitude that we won't take in this class. In this class, we'll be very strict, not lax, about syntax and the way we present our information.